So you can end up blowing the board up, like, and you've probably heard it like 6, 7, 8. It's crazy. My friends, what's up? It's BenCappp. We got Tearlaments again. More specifically, I will be going over how to set up your topologic bomber loop stuff. So of course on your turn, what stuff you want to look for, which stuff you want to make sure you get in the graveyard, and then more importantly, how to utilize it on your opponent's turn. So I've had a few people ask me about this. I was surprised it really wasn't covered so far, so I threw together this deck. It's not important to be playing this exactly like this. There are so many ways that people are playing this right now, with or without sprites. Some have Gizmek, some don't. This is kind of new, like the Dark Refer stuff. You mainly are going to have Fairy Tale Snow and then Dangers. People have asked, like, you know, I want Curious, but I don't want to be using, you know, Dark Monsters that are important. That's kind of what the Dangers are very good for. They get on the field easy. They draw cards to helps your retention of advantage. And then you can get into Curious mainly to send Snow if you haven't milled it already, or, you know, another key ingredient. So we're going to be doing full hand tests. I will show you the most basic form to set up the topologic bomber, and then, you know, we'll let it roll and get into some more details. So let's jump into it. Alright, so we've got our first hand here. It's a little tight because we've got 2 super polys, but that's okay. I'm sure we'll manage just fine. The Rhoda is going to help. We'll go ahead and grab, and that's what's cool about Rhodas. Now we actually have Dark Refer as an option. So we'll take Reinhardt though, because we're a little short on, you know, what we can work with. That being said, I can manage to lose 1 super poly, so I'm willing to activate a Danger, but I do want to get this out of my hand because I don't have any other tiers in my hand. So for me here, Reinhardt's a very good way to get your Merlee in grave, especially if it's activated from a Dangerous effect, goes to the grave, you know. But I need to activate the one I'm sending this time for sure, because I need to get them to get close. So I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I primarily want to search for Sulliek, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to get access to Merlee. So honestly, at this point, I'm willing to just send her to the grave, not activate her effect. I'm going to go ahead and pop my Kit Close and bring Merlee back. I will chain Kit Close and chain Merlee as chain 2 to block in case, you know, that way I can mill 5 instead of 3. So I hit Sulliek, Merlee, and Shiren. I'm willing to activate all of these. Got plenty of fodder at this point, right? So we're going to go ahead and activate all 3. So firstly, I know I'm going to be linking, so I'm going to go ahead and make Aurora. That way I can net a card. This is the Tearlament that I'm activating, so I don't want to send that back. So I'll shuffle the Havness to the deck. Bring out the Garura. And at this point, it would be good for me to make the Kaleido Heart, right? So we're going to go ahead and do that. We have no reason not to. It's best if we have Sulliek, but we'll see what we get, right? And then we're going to be adding 1 to our hand. So we've already normaled. Typically, at any point that you're doing, you know, setting up the bomber loop, you want to add Havness or have Havness in hand, because that's another piece that you can special summon unexpectedly on your opponent. We also milled a Gizmek, who's, you know, good to get out for Curious, but for right now, I just specifically want to show you the most basic bread and butter stuff. If you have access to get to Merlee onto the field, such as what I just did, pop your Kit Close, get Merlee on the field. One of the best things you can do is just go Spright Elf. Go ahead and draw a card, activate Elf to bring back the Merlee. And yeah, we've got 6 cards in hand, plenty of board, and all, in theory, all we need to do is get 1 more monster on the field. There's that super poly I mentioned I knew I would hit. And we're good. Once you've got this, you're golden, right? You're able to pass turn and make Topologic Bomber. I've got a Havness that I can special summon, and I've got this that I can special summon too. So just as an example, we're gonna pass our turn, because we could do plenty more, right? But we don't need to. I'm just gonna pass turn, and then at any point that your opponent can do something, or you choose at that moment to blow up the field, what we're going to do is activate our Elf first, right? Targeting the Merlee. Then we're going to activate our IP as a chain link 2. So the way that this is going to resolve is we're going to make the top logic bomber with our Spright Elf and our IP. He's going to come out, and at this point, Merlee has been special summoned, which is going to trigger the bomber's effect. The monster was special summoned to a zone it points to. So it's going to clear the board of all main monster zone monsters. Also, Merlee was special summoned, so she's going to trigger because it's a different turn, of course. So we're able to mill 3, blow up the board. We have a guaranteed fusion summon, right, with the Merlee, because she was destroyed by a card effect while she was on the field, right? She got destroyed by the bomber. So even if we milled nothing, we're still going to be able to fuse one monster, and we also were in control of Kaleidoheart, which is going to be able to be destroyed, special summon itself, and send another Tearlament. So we're guaranteed 2 different fusions. We've cleared our opponent's board, and we still milled even more than that. So now, let's go ahead and activate these effects. We're going to activate the Merlee, and we're going to activate the Kaleidoheart, and why not? We're going to activate the Shiren. So, at this point, we don't really want to special summon in the zone, but we activated 3 things, so I'm not going to have any space not to, but I'm just kind of going through the motions and showing you something. So, we're going to go ahead and do this. All right, we're going to kick Close out. Kick Close is great because we're going to get to search a card, and if it's destroyed, it's going to mill 5, so it's even more chance for us to mill something like a Tearlament that I can fuse with. I'm going to bring back the Kaleidoheart, and we're able to send a card to grave with Kaleidoheart, like I mentioned. So really, you know, you could fuse again if you wanted to. You could send this to add another card to your hand. So say I didn't have like Havness, I could mill this and add Havness to my hand, or I could even just send this one to add a Tearlament from the grave to my hand, such as Havness. But we're gonna do this just for explanation's sake, and we're gonna blow up our board like a big Dumbo, right? With these 2, we'll just make this so there again. If we needed to, we could blow up the board. I'm gonna activate this. I can search a monster here. So you see how much constant advantage you get, right? I still have 4 cards in hand. I'm adding more and more and more cards to my hand. I could send a card with Kick Close if I wanted to instead. I can add a Havness, I can add a Shiren. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Board gets wiped. I can mill 5 more cards, which, again, I might hit something like this again. Special Summon Reinhardt. I could maybe ditch one of the cards that I haven't activated yet, which I think would be Havness. And then I would go ahead and just activate this so I have more fodder in my grave. So let's just send Merlee, why not? And make a Dragostapelia. Alright, so now we, again, super poly. If we super polyed, we'll just do that, right? Just to do it. We could make another, we could have fused again with our opponent's monster into something, blew up the board again, and then at any point we're able to activate our Gizmek, who's buried in this massive graveyard. So you see what I mean. The IP and Elf are the most basic way to get to it, and again, like I'm saying, we could just special this and pop the board again. So endless. And at that whole time as well, we had Havness, so you can end up blowing the board up, like, and you've probably heard it like 6, 7, 8. It's crazy. We didn't even have snow in here. Look at all the spells and traps that we could banish for snow. I mean, goes on and on. So we'll do another test hand, and we'll use Curious this time. All right. I don't want to start with snow because that kind of defeats the purpose. So let's play from here. I'm gonna be making Curious, like I said. Pros and cons for Curious is that it is a link 3. So you just need one more monster to make your bomber. So it's kind of easy to make the bomber off of Curious, and you also get to send that key element that you might need an extra interruption on your opponent's turn. The opposite to that, of course, the IP and the Masquerena and the Elf. If you do that, the bomber can't be destroyed by card effects. So it's kind of a big deal. Tearlaments, very likely you can end up just making all 3 of those links with ease. Just depends on what gets hit, what you draw. The dangers are a very big component to getting into Curious because you need 3 different darks. So it's kind of hard to do without the dangers, right? So let's play from here, see what we can muck up. We've got Merlee and Reinhardt, which is good. That way we can set up our kick close Merlee mill stuff if we need to. The Shiren's good because you end up milling 3 anyway as well. So I might add the Shiren, yeah. Because my other choice would just be Havness, and I would look to keep Havness in my hand the entire rest of the turn, so that I use up my opponents. But it's very likely I'll be able to add one to my hand at a different point. I'm not going to need that. Let's set that, and let this bucko rip. Nice. Actually unbelievable. So we're gonna add, let's add the Chupacabra to hand. This way, in the event that it discards itself, we can get the Nessie on board, just for another dark name for the boy. So this is honestly the one I didn't want to hit out of all the cards in hand, because I do want to have access to Merlee. But that's okay, because I have Reinhardt. I can just end up normal summoning the Reinhardt. I know we've got the Nessie in the graveyard, so that's good. We can go ahead and do this. And I will add the Sulliek to hand, because that's just the best thing you can always add, right? So let's do that. And from here, it would feel good to get rid of the Reinhardt, right, with Shiren, and then search a Havness off the Sulliek, mill 3. That stuff's all good, but we don't need to do that. So we'll just summon this. Send our Merlee. We're not going to activate the effect. We actually can't. Pop the Kikkalos. You could consider popping the Reinhardt there so that I can guarantee myself the Curious. Actually, no. You need 3 different types, so you can't make Curious with like the Aquas and such. You need like Dangers or like Aurora. So we're gonna activate our Kikkalos to mill 3 or 5 and chain to mill 3. So there's our 3. There's our 5. We didn't hit much. We did hit Havness. So let's go ahead and get into that Aurora, like I mentioned. Aurora. And we'll use the Nessie. Nessie is great for that, right? We don't need to pop anything. Moving on. Get into that Curious. So I'm going to take a look at my grave. And I don't have Snow, which is a big aspect. I have the Gizmek in hand, so that's cool. So it's pretty much, yeah, I'm going to be sending the Fairy Tale Snow. I'd like to draw a card, I can chain block it. Drew another Super Poly, which feels bad on your first turn until you use it twice on your opponent's turn. So there's the Snow. Curious is also going to enable himself to mill 3. I don't know why that was not just like one effect. But yeah, so he's going to mill 3 more cards because the card was sent from the deck to the grave. We did hit, it looked like a trap card. Yeah, we're golden, right? We can fuse and then add 1 back to our hand. So let's chain that Meta Noise. Let's go ahead and add, unfortunately we can't add the Shiren because it's being resolved right now. Let's add the Merlee to hand. And we'll fuse into, Kaleidoheart is excellent for summoning on your turn and blowing up with Bomber, because it just, you saw in the last clip there, it gives you so much advantage. So we will go Kaleidoheart here. We don't have, yeah, we don't have one in the grave. We're gonna save the Kikkalos in the grave just because we can make Dracosepele off of it. So let's get him out. Let's go ahead and pop him. I think this is just the Snow, right? Yep. Go ahead and pop him, activate his effect to come back, because we're cheating in Yugioh. So we can activate Sulliek here to add the Havness to hand, which is something I really like to do with Kaleidoheart on the first turn. So let's grab that. Just so OP. I mean, we got 6 cards in hand. You start with 5, unless I'm just like losing my mind, right? And then we're looking to get another monster on the field to make Bomber. Of course, we don't want to use our Kaleidoheart, so we could either use the Snow or the Gizmek. As far as I'm concerned, we don't need that deck anymore. We got everything we need. So let's get him out. Would we banish? Nothing. None of it matters. Just playing 3 of everything. And jump into our Bomber. So there you have it. We've got 2 Super Polys. We've got a Havness. So keep in mind, why is Super Poly so good? Like, I'm getting rid of my opponent's monster. If I really need to, I can just make like a Garura, which I've already used. You can make Dragosepelia, shuffle back the Garura, summon Garura into the bomber zone with like either 2 of your opponent's monsters, 1 of theirs, 1 of yours, whatever it is. Blow up the field, you draw a card off of it. It's just crazy, right? We've got the Havness, so we'll go ahead and try to manufacture what it would look like. I'll turn always chain on, and I will pass my turn. I don't think I need anything here, right? In the event that they're not godlike, for the sake of this video, he's going to activate his effect. So right here, I could blow up the board with Havness. I could negate this and blow up the board by sending Clydeheart. And I need to blow up the board here, right? But I will negate that. So I'll negate the Clydeheart. I mean, the Reinhardt. Send this away. Activate its effect. Bring him back. We're going to... doesn't really matter here. Let's just send him R'lyeh. Activate his effect to shuffle. Activate her effect to fuse. We will make Dragosepelia, like I mentioned. I want to get him back in the extra deck. So let's do that. Shuffle him back. I will activate their field spell. Because why not? So this is kind of like something you got to think about too. Is I could pop the bomber here as well. It didn't even really need a super poly. That's why the IP and the elf are good. For the sake of the video, we're gonna pop something else. Let's just pop this guy's set super poly, and in response, I'll pop theirs, right? We still have the Gizmek and the Snow ready to go. They're gonna go ahead and activate a Nessie. There's a monster, there's a draw, there's a fuse. So like right here, of course, if I'm my opponent, I could Garura them, blow up the field, all that wonderful stuff. Just to kind of put it together, let's turn this on, do that, discard a card. And this is where we could do something like this if we really wanted to, but it wouldn't be good. But so, let's say this is accomplished. We would activate the Garura to add a card. We still have Snow. This is a lot. It feels like a lot, guys. It's hard to pilot like 2 different things here, but I banished a bunch off my field like an idiot. Blow up the field here, right? Again, I could activate Shiren here, get it on the field, and in response to that, I could go ahead and activate like my Gizmek, for instance. Blow up the field once more. Let's say they fuse. We'll try to find something that activates its effect. Like, just as an example. Right here, right? So if they activate that, they're trying to do some things with a different monster on field. You can get the Havness out, mill 3, blow up the board, and if we milled something, of course, right, we could fuse again, potentially. So there you have it. Even when Havness is special, you're going to mill 3 and inevitably blow her up to put out another monster. And again, just like before, I could on purpose summon Kiklos here in order to get my search, blow up the field, and then mill 5, which you're bound to hit cards. Of course, don't mill 5 if you got nothing left, but something someone mentioned to me and it kind of stuck pretty well is like the fact that when you're using the Tearlaments, they get shuffled back in the deck, so the thinner your deck gets, the more likely you are to fuse, right? So like even like right here, if I do make Dragosepelia, I use these 2, like the only card in my deck is Shiren, so I know if I do that, I'm gonna mill Shiren, right? But yeah, keep count of your deck. You don't want to deck out. I think that's kind of it. I'll play one more hand, and I'll play it like real quick, just to kind of wrap things up. All right, final hand. Gonna be looking to make the bomber, set up a couple interruptions for our opponent's turn. We've got dangers, which is good if we want to do curious, but we've got the snow already, so it's not really necessary. Go ahead and activate the field spell. Gonna look to, because we've got Roto, so we can get Grepher, and we can get the Reinhardt, but let's grab Reinhardt in this method first, and we'll just do his play initially, because I'm gonna get this out of the way and then start using the dangers. Activate her effect. We'll grab Soliak and grab our Grepher this time. Special summon it by discarding the Nessie. Nessie's gonna go off. We're gonna grab either Jackalope or Chupacabra is what I'm feeling, because they both kind of do the same thing. They can get a monster, you know, onto the board. And that being said, it's probably better to do Jackalope because it's coming from decks, so that way you have more fodder in the graveyard after everything's said and done. We don't have anything to pop the Kick Close with to trigger that yet, which is why you gotta always kind of debate, am I doing Soliak or am I sending the Merlee to get the 8-card mill going. But between these things, you know, I had Grepher, so I'm able to just go ahead and do this. We're gonna send the Jackalope, and we'll also send the Merlee, who I'm not gonna activate, right? So I will activate Jackalope to get an extra monster on the board. It's always just good to do Nessie because it's an Aqua, right? I'm not looking to do Curious, otherwise you could pick a different one. But we'll go ahead and pop. Right, so right here, if I didn't do Nessie, I could go into Curious with those three. But again, I'm looking to do Elf and the Masquerade because I have snow in hand already. I already have access to snow. Just gonna activate the Merlee and not the second one, because that would be our last fuse. So let's make that with the Nessie Engrave. And we're gonna add, of course, I'm sure you guys have realized, we're gonna add Chiron so we can get the snow into the graveyard. Doing the Elf here. Draw our card, bring her back, and then let's get her onto the field. Get rid of that snow, mill more cards. We hit another Gizmac. And it would have been good to be able to like fuse into Kleiderheart, like I said, because I've got Soliak and stuff, but Soliak is going to allow me to make Kleiderheart anyway. So we're just going to make IP, and we can actually Abyss Dweller here, which is massive. So let's go ahead and overlay those two. We'll put it in the Elf spot so it can't be targeted. Those two, and I guess could have just done this too, right? And then he would have came back. So there you have it. So if you guys have questions about this, let me know. Alright guys, again, this is the deck that I was using. Don't hold yourself to it. There's plenty of different ways you can do it. Some people play Desires, yada yada, sprites, so do whatever you gotta do. I hope this helped. If it didn't, you're still curious about something, you're having an issue, just let me know, comment, I'll answer. Peace.